This is Gerardo Del Real with Resource Stock Digest. Joining me today is the president and CEO of Azucar Minerals, Mr. Morgan Poloquin. Morgan, how are you this afternoon?
I'm excellent. Thank you very much. And you?
I'm well. Thank you for asking. The last time we spoke, we talked about the fact that it looked like you had hit some more smoke at the El Cobre porphyry copper gold project in Veracruz State, Mexico. This time it looks like you actually hit some fire. You've discovered a new porphyry center. And I know that for the pessimists and skeptics out there, they'll read the headline numbers and they'll say, okay, 0.50 meters of 2.12 grams per ton gold and 1.61% copper down 200 meters isn't going to cut it. But after a decade of speaking with you, I know the way that you approach exploration, Morgan. So I would love for you to share why you're excited about this blind primo target area and why these numbers are important. And of course, what the follow-up looks like.
Well, great. Thanks very much. Well, obviously, what we're looking for is something big and high grade. Isn't everybody on Earth who is in exploration? But porphyries can be both, and obviously they can also be big and low grade. And if they're big and low grade, well, you need them near surface for open pitting. But this kind of porphyry, gold-rich porphyries in this kind of setting, often can be quite high grade. And what that means in porphyry systems is, above 0.5% copper, 1 gram gold, sort of things. And of course, they get much higher grade. And we've had indications that we have quite high gold grades here in the 1 gram range locally on this project and on numerous different targets. But we've kind of been in this 0.2, 0.3% going along with that, and we felt that was because we potentially what could be because we're high in the system. So what people are looking for, like our shareholder, I think, not to put words in their mouth, but people are generally looking for block caveable, meaning underground mineable porphyry systems that are high grade, and that presents a whole range of pluses and cons, but if I'm not mistaken, Newcrest is, for example, is free cash flowing $1 billion a year, and so that can be the exciting result of these block cave big mines. So a lot of development costs up front, but then you're pulling, for years, all your development is done, and you're pulling ore, and you're putting it through a mill, and you're making money. And so that's what these block cave projects present. Oyu Tolgoi is being developed by Rio Tinto in Mongolia, and of course there's a big one, Grasberg in Indonesia that Freeport is operating, and there's various ones around the world. So that's what we're kind of looking for here. We're not we're agnostic. We're not focused on low grade open pits, and we're not focused on deep high grade, but we know that deep high grade deposits are kind of what a lot of bigger companies are focused on. And we think we could be onto the top of something here. So we did hit, you mentioned the upper hole, which had just a couple of intercepts and not very much in the way of porphyry, but good indications. And then below, we hit, and again, I'm just on the phone here and not looking at a screen as it happens right now, but it was around 86 meters of 0.7 grams gold and over 0.4% copper, with some intervals in there that are approaching 1% copper. So it's a real indication that we're on to higher grades, and it's a broad, large intrusive. So we're quite excited about the potential for this to open up potentially at depth into what we're looking for, which is again something big and high grade. And it's early days, and we don't know the orientation, and we don't know which way it could be going, and all sorts of things. But it's very exciting.
Let me read off some of those numbers from hole 86 at the Primo target, because that was my follow-up question. I noticed that hole went down to, I believe, 918 meters at the very least. There was a 200-meter intercept from 718 meters to 918 meters, which came in at 0.4 grams per ton gold and 0.24% copper. But within that, there was an 86.5 meter intercept of 0.70 grams per ton gold and 0.42% copper. You referenced that one. There were also 55.6 meters of 0.94 grams per ton gold and 0.56% copper. That was from 862 meters to 918 meters. I could continue. There was a 43.6 meter intercept of 1.04 grams per ton gold and 0.63% copper, and even a 10 meter intercept of 1.44 grams per ton gold and 0.85% copper. You mentioned, Morgan, that you're not sure, of course, of the geometry of this, the orientation. Tell me a bit about what the follow-up looks like, because I know the drills are still turning, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we outlined on the section in the news release, we're drilling a steeper hole underneath. In good deposits, you go from chalcopyrite rich zones to bornite rich zones, and that is alluding to the occurrence of the copper, the mineral that is the copper is occurring in. And chalcopyrite is about 3% copper, and bornite is almost 0.6% copper. So basically, things tend to get copper rich with depth. And that's kind of what we think we're seeing in this system. The shallower systems that we've identified elsewhere, have this 2 to 3 gold grams per ton to percent copper kind of ratio. And here we're getting a lot closer to, a lot different, we think. So we're starting to get these copper grades increase. And so, we're going to test beneath this hole, first of all, as we've shown in the section. And but we could be on the margins. We could not be in the center. So basically, chalcopyrite tends to zone inward as well as with depth into bornite. So, we're hopeful that we're going to get into a real copper-rich part of the system. And this is early days, but drilling will continue. We've got 3 drills turning at the moment. We've got other targets to test that we've never tested before as well. So we think that the exploration story here is, despite the fact we're on hole 89 here, as the section shows, we think we're early days. We would also like to point out that Oyu Tolgoi, as I've mentioned in an interview with you before, before they got into the real high-grade part, the part that really made that huge system, which I'm not comparing El Cobre to necessarily at all, but it was over hole 150, I think, when they really got into it. So we think it's very early days here, and it's tough exploration because you're drilling deep holes, but we've got cheap drilling. And we're in, we think, in terms of an exploration target, it's world class.
Now, this is a big mineralized intrusive. Is that correct, Morgan?
That's right. Yeah, this is the largest continuous intrusive that's mineralized that we've hit so far in the program. So that's very encouraging.
Good stuff. Morgan, I can't wait for the follow-up drilling. I know it takes some time because of the depth of the holes, but I can't wait to start getting the numbers back and see what you're onto here.
Very good. Yeah, thanks so much. We've got all our fingers crossed, but we think this is proof in the pudding. Obviously, we're a long way from defining an economic deposit. It's exploration, but nevertheless, I feel that this kind of indicates our exploration thesis, that this is a very, very permissive area, and it's kind of a district, and we control it. And I would like to point out at the kind of, as we're closing here, I think that we're in an area where you can very cheaply develop a porphyry. We're not in the middle of Mongolia. We're not at 5,000 meters in the Andes. We're, as you've been there yourself, we're just a couple hundred meters above sea level. We're 7 kilometers or so from a deep sea port, gas line, highway, and power plant is nearby. So this is very unique, and so drills are turning, and we'll see. We're looking forward to reporting and satisfying your craving for the next hole.
Absolutely. Morgan, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.